right, we'll go. I'll start counting down here shortly. Everybody ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Welcome to an early Thanksgiving edition of Horseshoe FAQ. I am Larra Overton, alongside the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor. We're going to be hanging out with you, taking all of your questions, so be sure to submit those. We will banter back and forth about the overtime victory over the Green Bay Packers and also previewing what is a just monstrous matchup at Lucas Oil Stadium between the top two teams in the AFC South, your Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Some news that we learned this morning, though, Mayte Rodrigo Blankenship earning AFC special team honors for this week. That's the third time this season a Colts player has been awarded a special or a Player of the Week honors, two special teams, one of those going to E.J. Speed from the previous week after the win in Tennessee, and then going all the way back to earlier in the season when Xavier Rhodes was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. How much fun was that game for all of us experiencing it at Lucas Oil Stadium, that overtime victory? We all certainly got our money's worth on that one.
It was fun. I mean, certainly the ending of the game, the outcome of the game was great. But during the game, I don't know if you would call it fun if you're a Colts fan. It was certainly stressful. It was entertaining. I'm sure it was heart pumping, heart wrenching, especially when the Colts got the ball back with like 3 minutes left and we're trying to milk the game away and get a couple of first downs, make the Packers use their first downs. And it was just penalty after penalty after penalty. The Colts having to get the ball back to the Packers. That was like the worst case scenario right there. So you went from potentially one of the greatest wins to one of the worst losses to one of the greatest wins again. So you had everything in that game on Sunday, plus 29 million people watched the game. So it was just an awesome, epic performance by the Colts and a signature win of the season for sure.
My blood pressure was high. I made the mistake of wearing like a silk blouse, so I was completely like sweating through that midway through the fourth quarter after running back and forth. So yeah, certainly that was one that got our blood pressure rising, but well worth it in the end when you saw that celebration. Going to a couple of quick questions here. Joe asks, any update on if Autry will get to play? When we heard from Frank Reich earlier in the week, he said it all had to do with whether Danico Autry was symptomatic or asymptomatic, and that affects the designation on how long the player is out per the NFL. So we should learn more later this afternoon. The Colts are practicing today here at the complex, so we will get an update from Coach Reich a little bit later on. I believe that he is scheduled to meet with the media around 12:30. So look for those updates here shortly on Danico Autry's status going into this one against Tennessee. Terry asked, what do you think the keys to victory will be in a rematch against Tennessee, Matt?
Well, I think they're, not to oversimplify the game, because I think there's a lot of things baked in these keys that I'm about to give you. But just to keep it simple, on defense, you have to stop Derrick Henry. You can't let him explode for $150 or $160. You have to keep him contained to the tune of maybe 80 to 100 yards. I think that's manageable. Obviously, if you do that, then you slow down the pass attack and you slow down or take away the play action game the Titans are so good at using because of that success, that pass from the run. For them, the run sets up the pass, where for a lot of teams, I think the Colts included, for them, the pass sets up the run. So the Titans are definitely the other way around. So take away the play action game and also no big plays down the field to A.J. Brown. Take away that big play ability there, and you should be good. Plus, you're a really good tackling team. You're a really good team for the Colts at stopping the run. We talk about this all the time. This gets brought up when the Colts play the Tennessee Titans. Since Matt Eberflus has been the defensive coordinator since 2018 with the Colts, they've only allowed 2 100-yard rushers, and both times it's been Derrick Henry. So, again, he had 19 carries for 103 yards two Thursdays ago. And if there is such a thing, that 100-yard rushing game was pretty quiet. It was a subtle 100-yard game, and it sounds weird to say that,
and
but
he
that's
slowed
exactly
down a lot in that
happened.
second half, it seemed, as well, like when it was really determining that game.
Right. So you have that, and I think on defense, the Titans coming into this game, they're going to be down a few key players. They're going to be down their middle linebacker, Jayon Brown, their leading tackler. They're without Jadeveon Clowney. He's their outside linebacker. He's on IR. This is going to be the second game he's missed, and it's also 50-50 right now on whether or not their starting safety, Kenny Vaccaro, can play in this game. He's got a concussion. He didn't play last time out on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. So from a Colts standpoint, if you think about those losses, that those are like the equivalent of like the Colts losing Darius Leonard, Justin Houston, and Julian Blackmon. Those are key losses, key players potentially for the Titans not playing in this game. So those are the keys to me, or for me, heading into this game. Take advantage of some of those losses. They might be also down a few players on their offensive line. Tyson Brilo, one of their tackles, is on IR. They might be without Roger Saffold in this game. So they are way more banged up at key spots than the Colts are heading into this game. So take advantage of that. And then, again, on defense, you just have to play good, sound, fundamental football, because the Titans, I don't want to say they're boring on offense, but they're definitely old school. I mean, they are get Derrick Henry running downhill, get him the ball, and the old cliche, the better the better he is, the more touches he has. He gets better as the game goes along. I mean, the key stat in this game, again, whenever you talk about the Titans, they are 14-2 all time in the regular season when Derrick Henry has 100 yards rushing. One of those losses came 2 weeks ago when they played the Colts. So keep him contained. Don't let him explode. Don't give up the big plays to A.J. Brown. You should be in good shape.
This is interesting when you talk about playing a team, a divisional rival, for the second time in the season within a stretch of about 17 days. The last time it was Colts at Nashville. It was on a Thursday night. You have a short turnaround. Now both teams are coming off overtime victories. And for the Colts, that was an absolute slugfest against the Green Bay Packers, and certainly a physical battle, of course, that the Titans had when you're talking about playing Baltimore. Anytime you're going up against that Baltimore defense, that's always going to be a tough one in terms of that matchup. You're going to come out of it, as you said, pretty banged up. Joshua asks, what do you think will be the differences this week compared to the Colts' first bout with the Titans? One of the things you point to always, it's tough to sweep a team when you face them twice in a season in a matter of fewer than 3 weeks.
It is, but the Colts have had good success with the Titans in that regard. Again, I know it's not the same team year to year. The Titans are a much improved franchise. You know, they have really good leadership. They have really good coaching with Mike Vrabel. But that being said, when you take a look at the overall series here, the Colts are going for their 8th season sweep of the Titans in the last 11 years, right? So they've had really good success taking care of this team in these spots. But it's always really interesting when you play a team, like you said, Larra, twice in 17 days, and you're starting to see that a little bit more and more in the NFL. The schedule makers the last couple of years are putting these key division matchups close, kind of twice in 3 weeks or twice in 4 or 5 weeks. The Colts will see this again later on in the month of December when they'll play the Texans 2 times in a span of 3 weeks.
But then you have the complete opposite situation with Jacksonville, where you face them week 1 and week 17. Right. So you book in the season against a divisional opponent. So it's all over the place.
That's like a completely different team. Yeah, like getting ready for Jacksonville week 1 compared to week 17. Yeah, that's like 2 different seasons. But, Frank Reich talked about this earlier in the week. We can't fall into the trap of trying to reinvent the wheel, even though we're playing a team 2 times in such a short amount of time. We have to just stay with who we are, maybe throw in a wrinkle here and there, maybe do some things that we didn't do in the first game. And listen, when you prepare for a team, you only get about 60 to 65 offensive plays and defensive plays per game. The Colts prepare for the Titans way more than that. So there's a lot of stuff they wanted to run situationally against Tennessee that just didn't come up in that game. The game didn't dictate, the Colts go to that call on the play sheet or run that play in that certain moment. So there's still some things the Colts have in store for this team that they didn't get to, unveil in that first game on Thursday Night Football. So it's just stay to who you are. And games like these, Larra, I equate it to like people in Central Indiana might be able to understand this. Like high school football, like take a look at Avon and Brownsburg. Those 2 teams are in the same conference. They're about 5-6 miles away in terms of separation geographically. And it might be a situation where those 2 teams play each other late in the season in the regular year, but then they draw each other in the first round of the sectional. So they have to play twice in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. This is the exact same thing. It just boils down to, I know you know me. It's whatever team executes the best is going to win this game Sunday after Thanksgiving.
And when you talk about those different, wrinkles, we saw a few of those coming out in that Thursday night game when you talk about more up-tempo, more no-huddle you saw for the offense. That's where you started to see a little bit more usage of Jacoby Brissett, and
Easy for you to say.
Right, exactly. My mind's already on Thanksgiving. I'm like one step ahead. I'm already getting there. But I did want to point to, you mentioned high school football. We have to, of course, recognize this is a massive weekend at Lucas Oil Stadium because you're going to have those high school state championship games decided on Friday and Saturday, and then the Colts at the Titans on Sunday. So this is a really fun weekend of football here in central Indiana. And then not to mention, of course, college football happening around the state as well. But in particular, excited to see the outcome of all of those games. And we have to credit the hardworking staff at Lucas Oil who makes all of that happen, working over the holiday weekend. I mean, countless hours to make sure that those facilities are up and running. So certainly want to appreciate all of those folks. A couple more minutes here to wrap things up. Willie says, speaking of high school football, Mayte, does Ron Colley bring home a blue ring on Friday?
I think, what are they playing? Mike Stevens might be able to help me. Maybe he can get in your ear here. What are they playing? Are they playing Hobart? I think that's right. But listen, I mean, how can you bet against them? I think they've won 15 straight games. Brand new head coach who comes over from Lawrence Central High School in his first year, all the way to the state championship. I've seen him play a couple of times on a web stream, webcast, that kind of thing. They spread you out. They have a really good dual threat quarterback who can run, really, really good, precise thrower. So of course, I'm going with the Rebels in this game. In fact, I'll be really disappointed if they don't bring home, I think, their 150th state championship all time. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably like their 10th, I think. But yeah, for sure. I think they have a great chance.
Southside representing. A few questions here to get things, as we wrap things up. We want to go on the defense really quickly because Sosa's asking about Julian Blackmon, who certainly ascended atop the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation. He asks if he gets the nod for Defensive Rookie of the Year, made those 2 splashes against the Bengals and now Green Bay. He had, that pivotal play. And one of the things you point to with Julian Blackmon is not just the plays that he makes, but the time that he makes them. He's making, those game-changing type of plays. And I don't know if you get a better endorsement for a Defensive Rookie in the Year than the maniac Darius Leonard going on social media and starting to make that plea for you, a guy who knows a thing or two about that award. So we're seeing a lot of juice behind that campaign at this point. Do you think it's valid, Mayte?
I definitely think it's valid. And I agree with everything you just said, specifically the crunch time playmaking ability. Those are the things that don't show up in the box score. Those are the things that Darius Leonard had about him 2 years ago when he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's great. I think the writers and the people that vote on these things are just going to look at the box score and they're going to say, how many passes defense did he have? How many interceptions? How many tackles for loss? The splash plays. But he has been not directly responsible, but really has accounted for big time 3 different wins for this team in crunch time late in the game. You talk about the Bears game. He had the interception when the Bears were going down the field to potentially take the lead, tie the game. He had the interception on Joe Burrow when the Bengals were going down the field to potentially win that game. And then he splits 2 defenders, knifes his way through butter the other day and gets that strip on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And just essentially wins the game for the Colts as they take over in plus territory. They run the ball 3 times with Jonathan Taylor, setting up that 39-yard field goal with Rodrigo Blankenship. Without that, the Packers are so good and they were humming so well on offense as they kind of got back in gear late in regulation. Who knows? They might go down and score a touchdown in that situation and win the game in walk-off fashion. Had it not been for Julian Blackmon with his just intangible playmaking ability. And it's fascinating, Larra, that we're sitting here talking about this guy playing so much, playing so well, not even a year removed from tearing his ACL in college. I mean, he looked great on tape. He looked great coming out at Utah, but I don't know any other GM that would have spent a 3rd-round draft pick on a guy that going into the season you thought might be a redshirt type of rookie season for Julian Blackmon. So credit to Chris Ballard for the pick, but even more credit for Julian Blackmon to, hustle his way back in terms of the rehab and then just ball out like he has so far here in 2020.
And Coach Alan Williams, who's his position coach, has said that it's a lot his instincts. He doesn't hesitate when he plays, and that's what you're seeing pay off. I think that's a lot of what you saw on the tape that led the Colts to take him where they did, plus his overall athleticism. You're talking about a guy who was a high school state champion. His high school state basketball team won a state title. He was all-state. He ran track. He played corner and receiver, and then in college he played corner, switched to safety, only played 1 year at safety in college. So we're only scratching the surface of what Julian Blackmon is going to be as a pro in the NFL, and hopefully for a long, long time right here with Indianapolis.
And he's like Bruno Mars. He's like Michael Jackson, man. He's got the best tones I've ever. He could like put out his own CD.
Unbelievable. Go back to training
like
camp.
That,
cue it up.
Guys like that make me so angry because I want to be good at one thing. Just give me one thing I can be good at. Whereas,
You're
I guess
a dang
I'm good
good play-by-play guy. I would know. And you're the best darn co-host of this show. I can tell you that right here.
I'll take what I can get. But no, it's just ridiculous how multifaceted some of these guys in the NFL are.
Absolutely. That's why they're in the NFL, and that's why we are sitting here. A couple
No
questions as we wrap up. I want to get to a few of these going to Nyheim Hines. Josh asks, will Hines get more playing time this week? Matthew, Hines has also been lined up outside frequently. Is he expected to transition into more of a wide receiver role? I think your best bet on Hines is to have him as that dual threat option in the run and the pass game. And then Sosa, can the Colts get the great running game going against the Titans? So just kind of all-encompassing Nyheim Hines, pass game, run game. Let's wrap it up right there, Maytay.
Whoa, smorgasbord to end with here.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, yeah, because I'm getting you ready for Thanksgiving. I'm getting your appetite worked up.
All right, Nyheim Hines, yes, he's going to play a ton. He is, I think, emerging. I think he and Michael Pittman right now at this stage in the season, those two guys are emerging as the top two playmakers, top two go-to receivers for Phillip Rivers in the passing game. The running game, yes, you have to be able to run the ball, and the Colts are doing that here the last 4 weeks. You're over 100 yards rushing 4 consecutive games, over 500 yards rushing in that period. You've got 6 rushing touchdowns in that span and 16 dynamic runs over 10 yards. So the ground game that everybody's been freaking out about all season, everybody's been pointing to, when's the offensive line going to get back into form? When are we going to start being able to run the ball like we did last year? You're seeing that. It's happening right here and right now. Plus, like I said, no J.N. Brown, no Jadeveon Clowney. Those are their two. Obviously, Clowney's a great edge player, but J.N. Brown is just – he's one of the better linebackers in the league. As I said, their leading tackler. Without those two guys, the Colts should be able to kind of take advantage up front in terms of the front seven and establish the line of scrimmage in this game.
As we wrap it up, a quick reminder, back to a 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday at Lucas Oil Stadium. You can join us on the Bell Tire Radio Network, myself, Matt Taylor, and Rick Venturi. And want to wish the best of luck to all of those teams who are playing in the high school state championship at Lucas Oil Stadium on Friday and Saturday. That's Fort Wayne Bishop Lures against Western Boone, Hobart versus Roncalli, your Roncalli program, Westfield versus Center Grove, South Adams and Covenant Christian, Bishop Chittard against Danville, Zionsville versus Cathedral. So I'm going to wrap things up right here. Thank you for hanging out with us on this special pre-Thanksgiving Horseshoe FAQ. Maytay, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Can't wait to see you on Sunday.
Yeah, likewise. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Mike, Larra, everybody. And I can't wait for this game. How blessed are we? Grateful for this opportunity to play this game with so much on the line, a division championship potentially. Whichever team wins this game is going to be in the driver's seat. There's a lot of football left to go, but just thankful we get to watch it and we get to experience it.
Oh, no doubt. And our director, Mike Stevens, I think wants to chat with you.
Matt Taylor, as much as I'll be rooting for Roncalli, I will be rooting for my alma mater, Cathedral.
I get it.
And I don't know if either of us need to root for Chittard, but we'll let that slide.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Roncalli and Cathedral can share is trying to beat Chittard every year. But no, all three great programs, and it's no surprise that all three are back at this stage. So good luck to the Irish, and as you said, Larra, good luck to everybody, because as a guy that got the chance to play in 2 of those state championship games in high school, it was back at the RCA Dome. But even at that, the RCA Dome was the coolest thing I've ever got to experience as a player growing up. I mean, stepping foot on that field from the locker room and looking up at all the empty seats, the upper deck, and just thinking this is the same field that Edgerrin James plays on, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, playing in that game was just the coolest thing. And my hat's off to the IHSAA for this year, figuring it out, still getting the opportunity to play at Lucas Oil Stadium and giving all of those kids, all of those coaches and fans, memories for a lifetime, for sure.
Well, safe travels to all of you, whether it's traveling to visit with family or traveling here to experience those high school state championship games. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We look forward to seeing you all on Sunday for Colts football.